Expo Studio.
Thank you again, Dr. Jane Thomason, for being with us today at Expo Studio. Let us begin with the first question. What is the name of your book and why did you give it that title?
The name of my book is Blockchanging the World, and I gave it that title because the reason that I got interested in blockchain in the first place was when I realized what transformational potential the technology has for really helping the poor and the vulnerable, giving access to people who don't have identities, access to the financial system. And so I wanted to just use a play on words, which was the blockchain to the block changing the world, because I think blockchain and other frontier technologies already are and can change the world in a very positive way.
The title is very clever because it's all about digitalization, transformation, and changing. Now let's go into the book more precisely. What is the book about it?
Well, I should preface this by saying I wrote another book before, which was my serious book about blockchain, and that was called Blockchain for Global Social Change. And it was a much more academic text about what is blockchain and how it works and what are the use cases. This one was a bit different in that, as part of my experience in being involved in blockchain and traveling the world and meeting different people who are doing different projects, I've had some of the most incredible adventures as well. So it's not just the technology, it's the people who inhabit the technology and the lives they lead. So I wanted to share some of that flavor with people, just the exciting adventure that I'd had being involved in blockchain, not just the fact that this technology is great.
Moving forward, a lot of people think a blockchain is Bitcoin and they have a negative view about it. Where do you think it can lead to social impact?
Well, mostly I don't talk about or think about Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies, because I think that's one very important vertical, and it's probably the one people know about. But what I'm interested in is the application in sectors like healthcare, and we've certainly seen a lot of movement and acceleration for blockchain in healthcare as a result of the pandemic, but also in humanitarian settings. Blockchain's being used quite widely to help the 70 or 80 million displaced people that we have in the world at the moment. In agricultural supply chains, it helps farmers get paid fairer wages and allows the tracking of the provenance across the supply chain and transparency in supply chains. And then probably the other most common application is in anything to do with finance, payments, remittances. And again, this is another one that we've seen accelerate during the pandemic.
We can already understand that blockchain as a platform can support many different ecosystems. But can we talk about healthcare? Have we seen acceleration of blockchain in the pandemic?
We have. So in the first place, the two things that we saw first, I think, was right in the beginning when there was a shortage of PPE equipment, masks and so forth. And in addition, people started making fake equipment and fake masks. And so blockchain started being used right early on for provenance of the PPE equipment. It was also used very early. You might remember those Johns Hopkins maps with the red bubbles that kept on growing all around the world. That was actually underpinned by a blockchain platform for secure data sharing. So those were probably the two earliest, but then quite a number of people, because they had to make contactless payments. So there's a number of examples where people were using blockchain for payments, and then for remote care, and then for things like tracking, contact tracing and tracking, and people were building various applications for that. So right throughout healthcare, I think there's probably more than a dozen different ways that blockchain projects were pivoted so that they could actually be useful during the pandemic with some of the problems that we faced. And while no one wants to say the pandemic is a good thing, one thing that it did enable, in my view, because healthcare is a very conservative sector and very slow to change. what it enabled was, because of the acuteness of the situation, sort of to some extent, the legacy curtains were drawn apart a bit and allowed this technological innovation and acceleration to take place.
Taking a look to your book, it caught my attention that in one of the chapters, you talk about your daughter, and it was intrigued. Why did you write that?
The reason why I wrote it, because as I said to you, this is about my blockchain story. So aside from the fact that she's my daughter, and I feel very lucky that she wanted to spend time with me. In fact, it was through her that I had some of the experiences that I did, because she managed to get involved in blockchain initially doing events, and at the London FinTech Week, she got offered a job by EOS Block One, which was the biggest ICO that took place. They raised $4.2 billion. And then for the next 3 years, she worked for them, and she ran their global hackathon and other events all around the world, which were incredible experiences, and also quite amazing, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of developers would come to the hackathons and try and build the latest technological ideas on the platform. And so I got the opportunity both to have the experience of these spectacular events, but also to meet these developers who were thinking about some of the most incredible breakthroughs during that period of time. So it was through her that happened, and we did it together, a lot of it, at least that part of it. So I wanted to write about that. And then afterwards, we bought an events company together called FinTech Worldwide, which run London Blockchain Week and London FinTech Week, and we launched Digital Impact Week. So right up until the time of the pandemic, which of course made it impossible to have events, then we were working together. So I wanted to talk about that story, because it's unusual for mothers and daughters to have a chance like that.
What a wonderful addition and collaboration. Dr. Jane Thomason, we are very happy. We are honored to have you in our interview today. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Revexpo Studio, for all the collaborations along with this futuristic process for us. Thank you very much, Dr. Jane.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.
Revexpo Studio.